I'm told by a friend that you have some views for sale.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
Hey, everybody! What's going on? Hello! Welcome back. It's 1 fucking hour time. Whoa, I hit that time. I'm Evan Husney, and this is the show where we talk about one goddamn movie, and we have just 1 fucking hour to do so. Very excited
really
for
hitting those F-bombs today.
I know. We're just, you know what? Burn it all down. Burn the ships. Burn it all. Who gives a shit? Here we go. All right. I'm really excited, everybody, for tonight's episode. As I said, I'm Evan Husney, and to my left, we got Miss Rémy Bennett. Welcome. Welcome.
Hello.
Right. Of course, if it's a movie that's going to be about childhood trauma, we got our childhood trauma specialist here. Also, to the right, we got Mr. Marcus Lewis. To my right. Am I right, everybody?
That's not right, but yeah, close enough. So.
Okay. Mr. Marcus Herring. Here he is. All right. So very excited for tonight because this is episode 160 of the show. We're right in the middle of doing our big year-long one effing year. You like that, Marcus? One effing year series where we're doing one film per year per episode. So we started in 1950 and now we're at 1960. And what are we doing? We are getting into, I'm really excited about this. I feel like this was a short lister for a while, this title. But here we go. We're doing 1 fucking hour on Michael Powell's Peeping Tom. Very excited about that. Maybe the conclusion to our let's see, our third perverted film we've done in a row here on the show.
Yeah, it was like a creepy perv trifecta.
I know.
Who's picking these movies?
I know. I didn't mean for this to be as fucking perverted, but we did. Okay, we did. We did. Help me, Vertigo, right? Which was a couple weeks ago, right? Perverted. And then we did last week, we did Pickpocket, which is, not as perverted, but of course there's that.
There's some perversion.
Yeah, there's that
transgression.
sexual, picking of pockets going on there.
Right.
Crossing of boundaries.
Then bigger than life is kind of sordid.
Sure.
It's like,
Yeah. I mean, look, when looking at the options for 1960, which of course, as we mentioned last week, there was an abundance of. This movie feels like Peeping Tom feels like it checks all the 1 fucking hour boxes. It's the big gem of the year. It's ahead of its time. It has some crazy stylistic shit going on. We're gonna get into all of it. Don't worry.
It has the word Tom in the title.
It does. Peeping Tom Fitzgerald, of course. So there's a lot of connections going on for tonight. But we're gonna get into all that stuff. But I do want to give just really quick before we get into the hour here. A quick shout out to the 1 fucking hour Patreon. Patreon.com/1 fucking hour is where you can sign up for just $5 a month. And it is the best way to support the show. Not only is it the best way to support the show, but also the best way to support the aforementioned Tom Fitzgerald, our 1 fucking hour brother, who's on medical leave from the show. We are raising money to support his recovery. He suffered a medical emergency last year. If you've been not following along with the show, but we've covered that. So every dollar that comes in through the Patreon or YouTube is 100% going to Tom. So if you want to support him, we appreciate it very much. And in exchange, you get instant access to all of our bonus episodes, bonus material. We have probably over 40 hours of that up on the Patreon right now, including audio commentary tracks, hangouts, and other things that we've done. But if you want all your bonus content on YouTube, just scroll underneath this video, find the join button, click that, and become a moment of the YouTube channel. Same price, same benefits, same perks, and we appreciate the support nonetheless. And so does Tom and his family. So thank you guys so much to everyone who signed up thus far. We have a new bonus episode that could be up while this is airing right now. So check, because what we're doing is our next bonus ep is going to be looking at all of the 1950s films that we didn't cover in long form as part of this series. We're going to kind of go round robin on some of our favorites from the decade just to spotlight some of those. So it might be good to check that out if you're looking for recommendations, because we're probably going to hit a lot of the non-obvious ones. That could be, who knows, maybe future One Fucking Hour titles. I don't know. We'll have to see. So One Fucking Hour Patreon. Thank you, everybody. All right. Oh, yeah. One more piece of business, because, guys, this has been working, so I'm going to do it. If you are not subscribed to the channel here on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. Click the bell so you can be notified when new episodes of the show drops. And also, Marcus, new little feature here on YouTube. Please hit that hype button, y'all.
Yes.
Hit the fucking hype button. Wait, do I have the... hit the hype button, if you will, because that really is helping us on the show. You know, we're probably demonetized everywhere. It might help. It might help. Hype us. Right. You know, we need it. We need a little hype in this.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Let's get into this shit. Shall we dive right into this movie?
All right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me find the goddamn clock here. It's always something here. Okay.
Find
wait.
the clock.
Find the clock. Oh, wait, I have to... Hold on, where is it? I gotta...
Start the clock.
Okay, there we go. All right, so let me rewind the clock here. It's always fucking acting up these days. Okay, here we go. All right, everybody, let's get locked and loaded. We're about to do it. Here we go. One fucking hour on Peeping Tom. Locked and loaded. All right, there we go. All right, little synopsis action. Again, another film as part of the Criterion Collection. Michael Powell's Peeping Tom. Here's a little synopsis. Having brought British cinema into exalted realms of fantasy and imagination, Michael Powell took a dark detour into obsession, voyeurism, and violence with this groundbreaking meta-cinematic investigation into the mechanics of fear. It's a damn good opening sentence, if I do say so myself.
It is, yeah.
Armed with his killer camera, photographer and filmmaker Mark Lewis, played by Carl Bohm, who I'm sure we'll get into a lot tonight, unleashes the traumas of his childhood by murdering women and recording their deaths until he falls for his downstairs neighbor and finds himself struggling against his dark compulsions. Received with revulsion upon its release, only to be reclaimed as a masterpiece, the endlessly analyzed, still shocking Peeping Tom dares viewers to confront their own relationship to the violence on screen. Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, this movie, I'll never forget when I first saw this. I think it was around the time it came out on DVD through Criterion, whatever, 15 years ago plus, and was always enraptured by, just like something that you could easily take for granted, I think, with this movie, especially if you watch a lot of them, is like, you really got to put yourself in the time that this movie comes out, you know, filmed in 1959, released in 1960 in Britain, you know, where things might be a little on the repressed side as it is. And this movie drops, right, which is, I think, unprecedented in terms of looking deep into the psychology of a killer. I mean, normally villains and killers and murderers in films, you know, they're just kind of this black or white bad guy, you know, in the film. This examines the gray area of putting you inside his head, making him somewhat sympathetic by having this sort of traumatic childhood origin story. And I think that was very uncomfortable for the viewers of this movie when it comes out.
Very ahead of its time.
Yes.
To be doing that kind of like psychological analysis, like criminal psychology.
True.
I mean, when you think about it, like with the behavioral science unit at Quantico and all that stuff we talk about with Manhunter and like that, the fact that that was only developed like in the 70s.
I know.
Right.
You know what I mean? Of course, like, you know, the psychology was something people were talking about, but not in specifically in regard to serial killers. So this is kind of
Right.
Cutting edge.
They set out to make a movie about Freud initially or something, right?
Yes.
Like, it was on their minds.
Exactly.
Right.
But yeah, way ahead of its time to, like you were saying, Evan, to like look at murder through the lens of like developmental psychology and like profiling a killer. So that was like, hadn't really happened.
Like what made this person a monster?
Well,
how did this get created? And obviously, you know, shout out to in the One Fucking Hour archives way back when we covered the 30s. We did One Fucking Hour on M, which, you know, 1931, serial killer film, a child serial murderer. And of course, Fritz Lang at the end of that film sort of gives, gives the character a little bit of sympathy in terms of, that this is a mentally deranged compulsion that this guy has in terms of, of course, talking about Peter Lorre's character. But this is a whole nother realm. And of course, we also, go ahead. Well, one last thing is Psycho is this year, Psycho comes out in 1960, months apart, another, huge, of course, British filmmaker working in America, but another huge titan of the British film, industry, Hitchcock, comes out with a film exploring somewhat similar themes, but very different. That gives, Norman Bates a little bit of a psychological profile at the end of the film, which doesn't date so well looking back now. But this film does date really well in terms of its exploration of the madness, behind its killer and the trauma, behind its killer. So it's very fascinating that this movie feels very modern, very, very modern.
With just the contrast with like Psycho being like a huge hit, like household name movie, and then this being like
erased,
a bomb that was erased,
canceled.
It was on like the canceled even, and then was just on like on the secret menu for like film buffs for 30 years or whatever.
His whole career, Michael Powell's career, was totally ruined.
Imploded from this movie. I mean, let's just hit it really quick. I mean, this film comes out in 1960 to some of the most, it's like comically bad reviews. I mean,
like hyperbolic, insane.
Yeah, here's one of them. The Tribune said the only really satisfactory way of disposing of Peeping Tom would be to shovel it up and flush it swiftly down the nearest sewer. But even then, the stench would remain. So that's what we're talking about.
I heard there were so many bad reviews he had, and he like compiled them all and printed them verbatim in his
memoir.
autobiography.
Wow.
Yeah, he was kind of proud of, I think, I don't know if that's the accurate way to describe it, but I think he embraced the response because he kind of had some foresight. He's somebody who, obviously, Michael Powell had an incredible career in the 40s, making some of the most visually stunning and incredible films. It sucks.
Black Narcissus. Oh my God. It sucks we couldn't do Black Narcissus.
Well, it's like we did the 30s, we're doing the 50s. We skipped the 40s, but once we do get around to that, we'll definitely cover, their films. I mean, Black Narcissus, what's my favorite one?
The Red Shoes?
No, I love The Red Shoes, but
Tales of Hoffman.
A Matter of Life and Death.
Oh, Matter of Life and Death.
Yeah. That movie is fantastic. And so anyway, so the idea that, he knew that, kind of making something, I think, as cutting edge as this was, like, it was going to be met with, people who just weren't fucking ready for it, and they were not ready for it.
What's interesting about like the other movies that they made, it's like there's such a gorgeous artificial mastery of just like the beauty of the movies that even though they were dealing with like really subversive topics, like Black Narcissus is like repressed sexuality and this nunnery, and it is extremely dark and mysterious and subversive, but because it has the look of that beautiful sort of veneer of like just gorgeous fairy tale beauty in a way, he was able to kind of communicate those messages by still appealing to a wider audience. And I think they were saying about the luridness and the smuttiness of this, people felt like it was a snuff movie.
I think he's always been sort of subtly kind of a subversive filmmaker where, like, I think Scorsese has said, or others have said, like, that the war going on in obviously the 40s, was a big distraction to the idea of all the things they were able to get away with in cinema in the 40s. So I think he's always been pretty, he's got his head on straight in terms of like wanting to push the envelope,
Right. Yes, Scorsese talks about this being like a really revolutionary run of films within the studio system, like pushing the boundaries of what they would allow you to do.
Exactly.
For that run that he did with the Archers.
And this one was a little, I think, also a little bit too close to home. And I think we can talk about it more when we get into the movie in terms of like some of the scenes in Soho and like the newsagent, for instance, in the corner store. But that this was kind of a representation of British people in contemporary life. And I think people also didn't really want to hold a mirror.
No.
I'm not talking about them being serial killers, but the idea of like each man really harboring a secret, sex pervert inside of them. is something that's pretty real, in the sex worker world of Soho and the smut magazines and, kind of like the repression of England and sexuality.
Yeah.
It's like instantly lurid, like right off the bat, dropping you into the POV of looking at a prostitute, murdering her.
But don't you think it's also like hypocritical, like that the British people, especially the British men, were a little bit
100%
to reveal their true selves? I don't know.
Well,
I think it was a little pearl clutching, a little hypocritical.
No, you're 100% right. And Marcus, it's like, like this movie opens as like a first-person shooter, first-person stabber video game where you literally, this is what's so brilliant about the movie and why it's so meta and has so many multi-layers.
Yes.
It's like FMV.
Yeah, yes, like a point-and-click adventure. No, but the whole idea of like you as the spectator then are forced to identify with the perverted, protagonist. Of course, but there's also the multi-layer of like, cinema, right? Because we're getting into, Mark's character. He's this guy who is making films and then rewatching the footage that he's filming of the murderers, and then we as the audience are spectators of that and spectators of everything.
But Mark is also a focus puller on set of like another movie that's being made that's like almost like a studio film, and then we're watching the movie, so this is like another topic to explore. It's like the infinite gaze, right? Like like the Laura Mulvey talks about, obviously the male gaze, and this movie is very much in line with all of her work and her film scholarship about the male gaze and objectification. But this movie is almost like playing with every perspective of the, and so in so many scenes it's interesting. Like he has the camera, so you have like that lens of the viewfinder, and then Michael Powell's camera is another camera, and then when you're on set there's the other 35 millimeter camera, and so it's
and
like
there's also the camera when he's shooting the nudies or whatever too, and it's all like kind of gussied up, and like the women wearing the costumes or not wearing the costumes,
the large format
camera lighting and stuff,
right. All right, so just maybe if I can, just a quick little short, because I want to get into the film, just sort of like how this project came together, and then let's get right into it. Because obviously Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, they made all these great films in the late 30s and the 40s, and now this is a new collaboration. Michael Powell meets this guy Leo Marcs. Shout out to the Criterion disc. Definitely check out the Leo Marcs documentary on the disc. Crazy. I mean, this guy was a World War II code breaker. He invented like the Silk Code. He like broke some codes that helped us win the war. Truly, fascinating that this guy comes from that background and writes a movie like this.
And the agents who he was making these codes for often were brutally tortured and killed.
Right.
So it's like he really was experiencing the horror and the fear of imminent torture and murder and grief. And so he was really going through all that stuff when he was writing Peeping Tom.
Fascinating character and
crazy.
Yeah, he's a very eccentric kind of dude too. But anyway, so he links up with Michael Powell. They hit it off, same sensibilities. And Leo Marcs' first ideas that they were going to make, for a film together was maybe we'll make something about a double agent, or as Marcus said, well, let's do a film about Freud. But I guess it didn't really go anywhere. John Huston was working on, his Freud project, but it was the third pitch that did it. And it was Leo Marcs sitting down with Michael Powell one day, and he sort of leaned toward him and said, Mr. Powell, how would you like to make a film about a young man with a camera who kills the women that he photographs? And then Michael Powell's response was, "That's me, man. That's me." Instantly,
that's him.
I like it very much. That's me. Let's go.
I like it very much.
I like it very much. Let's go. And so they were like, "Let's fucking go!" And they just went into it, and they made this film. And as we said, of course, it was a complete bomb, and was so we didn't fully say this, but the reaction was so negative to the movie that it was pulled from cinemas 1 week after it premiered. I think it was then censored quickly after that. But Carl Boehm says, of course, who played Mark Lewis in the film, he mentions at the premiere they had invited all of these distinguished guests and all of their people that they had invited, friends, family, people in the industry they looked up to, fellow actors, actresses. They invite everybody to the premiere of this movie. When the movie's over, There's silence. You can hear a pin drop, and all of their guests, their friends, they leave the theater without even making eye contact with them and just walk out the front door. Like just total, like they don't say anything. They're so disturbed.
As if they had like committed an atrocity against humanity.
Yes.
Sickos. Like who the fuck are these people?
Sickos. And it's like, really, I mean, there's just nothing like it before it. I mean, Psycho was right there, you know? But like this movie is just it's got
a lot of like
ickier
smut in this movie.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, like it's like the
sex.
I mean, we see the nudie photos, and we see multiple times they're showing you like nudie photos. You're on the set of them shooting it.
Yeah.
There's like, I think that might be one of the even more so
than the killing.
But at the same time,
sexuality in this
it's so weird. Like you. Sorry to interrupt you, but like saying that, it's an analysis of our society, and I think that's such a strange thing when people kind of misunderstand that, as if a film is the smut. The film itself is the sadistic act, where it's like the film is an exploration of these ideas, and in a lot of ways, the film is exploring how women's bodies are used and sold and objectified and fetishized, and so we're seeing that it's very intentional. In the newsstand, we're seeing the pictures and the nudity, and how women are trafficked.
Right, and it's a snuff film that he's like kind of making, right? Or he's making snuff films, basically.
Yeah.
Which is like a topic that's just always freaks people out, no matter what.
Totally.
That there's like a real life movie of someone getting killed.
Faces of
or
death.
whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of near and dear to our heart a little bit, that topic. But real quick too, because also I think one of the other milestone markers of this movie, just finding in the research of this, is it does have the first, I think, nudity of any British film. I think this is the beginning of it. I didn't notice this, but
we read that. Yeah,
but like upon close look, right at the end or near the end of the film, when Mark Lewis is there's that off-screen murder where he kills one of the sort of pinup girls that he photographed, and more towards the beginning of the film. There's a shot where she has her top off, and you have to look to notice it. But I guess that is the first, breasts on film in a major British
I missed
film.
that, but yeah,
it's pretty. It's subtle because I was like,
subtle,
I didn't.
But it's there.
I did notice on the card that whatever his buddy that he pulls focus with, the AC or whatever, pulls out like a nudie card.
Yes.
And you can see there's like
you can see some knickers.
Right. So this is like completely intentional. You know what I mean? Throughout the movie, this is the theme that's completely, brought up multiple times about like the idea that like women are, this is so much a part of our culture, our commerce, and the fact that like what's acceptable and what's not, like, what are we hiding and I don't know, all those issues. But
yeah. And what's also interesting is like, women are like the threat to Mark in this film, right? They're seen as that, or that's kind of one avenue of looking at it. But there's also at the same time, like, he deeply identifies with women too.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting because, he's very tender towards Helen, and he's also very tender towards, which we'll get into, the woman with the cleft palate.
Yes, we gotta.
Yeah, so let's start getting into the movie.
Yeah.
And we can.
There's one more detail I think just at the beginning that I think would be good to get out of the way is that that this film was, like you said, a bomb and it kind of went away, but then its resurrection is a huge part of the story too.
Yes.
So this, like, he was like one of the main like people that the new Hollywood championed, like Scorsese, Coppola, Jonathan Demme. You could tell they all looked up to this guy, Brian De Palma.
Yeah.
And so they Scorsese was a big fan of his work from the time he was a kid, even.
Yeah.
Right? So he was into Peeping Tom, like as a kid, basically, which is fucked up.
Yeah.
But so I guess he helped bring it back out of and helped get a new print struck in the 70s and helped get some showings.
And he brought
the New York Film Festival.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
His Scorsese's editor, Thelma Schoonmaker, ended up marrying Powell.
That's crazy. I forgot about that.
Oh my God.
Nuts. That's his that was Powell's third wife, and then Powell ended up working for American Zoetrope. There's like some films of him from the early 80s on the
That's
set
right.
of One from the Heart with like Francis and like walking around there, you know, and he's literally working for Zoetrope. So he got really embedded in New Hollywood. Like
he was embraced.
Like his third part of his career, whatever. Third act.
For sure.
And the Scorsese obsession is like interesting the same way that filmmakers are obsessed with Vertigo. Like it's that same meta thing of recognizing yourself in the movie, like you're recognizing your own obsessive your own obsessive tendencies as an artist of like artistic perfection, and the way that like you can feel how as a filmmaker it's almost like a violent act. It's an act of exploitation. It's something you can't stop, and it's like it's this world that you go into. It takes over your entire life. The camera sometimes becomes, you can't live without mediating your life through a camera. So I think like someone like Scorsese really related to this the theme of the movie, you know? And he saw himself in the character of Mark and in Michael Powell.
Because it's equally about filmmaking, you know, as it is about, you know, all the trauma and psychological murder and all that and sex and all that stuff. It's like also like, you know, about 100% about filmmaking too.
Right.
You know, so.
Totally.
Can I read you a little quote that
Please.
Scorsese says? So he says, the act of making movies can be perverse. It's almost like a pathology of cinema. You want to possess the people on film. You want to live through them. You want to possess their spirits, their souls in a way. And ultimately you can't stop. It has to be done until you get to the bitter end. The only thing to do is to make another picture. You have to do it again and again and again. So it's like, whoa, that sounds very similar to like when you have a sadistic compulsion or a compulsion to murder or sexually assault people.
Or make gangsta pictures. So,
another Scorsese quote saying, you know, he said that this movie and 8.5, the Fellini film, are contain all that can be said about directing. The Fellini film is about like the world of the deals and the scripts and the showbiz and stuff. And the Powell film is the deep psychological process at work when a filmmaker tells his actors to do as he commands while standing in the dark and watches.
There you go, dude.
Wow.
I mean, and it's extremely like it's scary and exploitative and controlling and weird, and it's a weird, like we kind of accept it
and
as
into
like
fantasy and, you know, and manipulation and exploitation and
you're using these people as like your puppets to kind of play out your own fantasies. Really.
Right.
But you get away with it.
To work out your own traumas too, you know?
Yeah.
There you go.
You're directing them until you feel something and have a reaction, and that's how you know if you got what you needed.
It's so interesting.
That's very crazy.
And that's the thing with Hitchcock too. Really quickly, like that Pink Smoke article that I was reading, I'll put it in the
show notes,
the show notes.
Yeah.
But like it's so funny because they were talking about like kind of Hitchcock's like motivation and how often they feel like genuinely it is a perverse motivation to almost harm and manipulate his actresses, which we know. But
well
even
documented,
like But like when he talked about why he wanted to make Psycho, he was like, "Oh, I love the idea of surprising the idea of surprising someone in the shower with a knife." Well, like where that's like, whoa, you know.
And
like,
how about also like just the similarity quickly between this and Psycho 2, where it's like Norman Bates with the peephole, you know, looking through.
Well, yes, no, but I think this is the difference. This is the difference. I think Hitchcock actually was a voyeuristic pervert.
Yes,
I think he probably had a voyeuristic disorder, and then he was making these movies as a way to work that shit out. Yeah. Whereas I think Powell had obsessions. I think he was an obsessive filmmaker, but I think he was interested in psychology.
Yes.
And you know, Leo Marx was interested in the exploration of psychology, the motivations, you know, society, all that stuff. Whereas I do think Hitchcock was really more interested in torturing women and like the idea of Vertigo, like playing out those weird perverted, and they're great. I love them. They're incredible movies, but I really think it was more like he was a real pervert. Wow. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. I love it.
Well, in this film, it's like the metaphor for like being the director is the torture and the art, but it's all like, it's worth dying for your art.
Yes.
Art is worth torturing people for, or whatever.
Right, and so that is like a metaphor. So you know what I mean? I think like the artist metaphor is one part of the film, and then the exploration of Mark Lewis's character and his psychology
is another.
That's another aspect.
yeah.
Sure.
They don't necessarily have to be the same.
Sure.
One and the same. They share qualities.
No,
Right.
And I think what's great about it is the movie is just, it's so personal. You feel how personal this movie is. Michael Powell casts himself, of course, in the verite films of, being the father of Mark Lewis's character, and he uses his real son, that we'll talk about in the movie. and the fact that he's kind of making a joke of this like hack comedy film that they're trying to make also during this. So I think it's that's what's great about it. He's doing what he knows as well, and really getting deep into a psychological profile of a very disturbed, traumatized person. But let's get into
the movie.
Let's get into it. Okay. So the opening, I just want to start with, there's no better place because it's amazing. Okay. And the opening of just even that close up of the eye opening, which is very Vertigo-esque as well, how we're sort of led into it. And I also thought about Texas Chainsaw Massacre too, just, with the, with the woman's eyes, the close up of the eyes.
Definitely became a trope.
Yeah, for sure. But it's so great. And then we go in, and here we are. It's like this heightened, again, it's very, Powell core, but it's like this heightened unreality set. It's like a city street constructed on a studio.
It looks like a matte painting.
It looks
really
but
cool.
but I think it's a set.
It looks amazing. It looks like a comic book frame, or it looks like, dare I even say, like a frame out of like Dick Tracy.
I thought that too.
It really does. It looks like Dick Tracy. And then of course we see, and we're in this, handheld camera, first person, which feels really fresh, for the time. And
just like the opening of Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yes, right, exactly.
Made me think of that so much when I watched it.
And just like right as the French New Wave is getting going too,
Totally.
with all the handheld camera and stuff.
Getting that camera off them sticks.
But the POV of the killer, I was like, this is exactly, and going up the
in
stairs.
Halloween, yeah.
I was like, shit, this is the same sequence.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So then he's
I mean, so many movies have that. I mean, it made me think of Manhunter.
Well, we're going to get into Manhunter.
Oh, yeah.
Because Manhunter, there might be a lawsuit here coming towards Manhunter's way. Hold on.
I was like,
Suspiria even,
Sure.
Oh,
yeah, of course.
God.
So he's hiding the camera in his coat, and like as he's approaching, the prostitute, and he's got the camera there, and it's looking very phallic. Of course, there's a lot of that phallic imagery going on in this film. It just feels lurid from the beginning. It feels like forecasting of a kind of grindhouse 70s vibe. And then, as we're sort of, panning up and down, sort of looking at, this woman on the street, and we're following.
But it's weird because the camera's by his waist.
I know, but it's like eye level.
So that's what's also, it's interesting. It's like the camera is a sentient being.
Right.
So this is the introduction of the camera as a separate real being.
Right.
Which is, so the camera's looking and he's looking through the camera. So it's like,
I guess we'll have to edit the IMDb goofs to reflect that.
Yes, right. Where's our goof guy in the comments? Yeah, you get on this. But again, kind of a little wink and a nod here. This feels like kind of Powell's sick sense of humor is how we're sort of like she goes into, I guess, like the rooming house that they're going to hook up in. And then it cuts to like him throwing, it literally pans down to like a filthy, disgusting trash can with like gross garbage in it that he throws a pack of film, an empty pack of film into. Which is like, it just feels like that's something sort of black humor there for that. And
right.
Yeah. And it's, we are seeing what Mark sees before we see Mark. We're inside his head before we even know whose head we're in, which is amazing.
And the habits that he has, like even the carrying film with him, disposing of film, loading film into a camera, putting film in a projector. Like this is his compulsion. This is his habit every day.
Right.
His obsession. He is never without that camera and with that.
Yeah, it's an extension of his body.
But that paraphernalia,
right?
Like all of the stuff that goes along with the filming.
Yeah.
Ever since he was a little kid, he's never been without that.
No.
So throwing away, I don't know. It's weird. It's like his behavior.
But then we see the first kill here because we don't know what's going on. And I think this would be really scary. Like, just seeing this film, like when this movie came out and the time it came out and not knowing anything about what's happening next is like, you're seeing first person of this woman being terrified in her face. but there's all these flashing lights that are hitting her, and you don't know where they're coming from or what the fuck that means. And that to me, sorry, it's very David Lynch. Because I don't know, doesn't he kind of use weird lights, that just to forecast scary shit happening, like otherworldly.
Flashy, there's a flashy thing.
I mean, Mulholland Drive or something has that.
When Laura's killed in Firewalk.
When Laura's killed, thank you. The flashlights.
The flashlights, yeah.
Yes.
Gondry does it too. Michelle Gondry does it too. In Sunshine or whatever. When they're going back, there's times where they're like shining lights and stuff, like when they're running.
Yeah.
That kind of. Yeah, anyway,
very scary, just in its own little vacuum there. What the fuck is that?
And going into the mouth too, it's like the mouth opening. It's like a weird black orifice that's opening up. I don't want to say what that could be, but yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
But
then
let's keep it clean.
Let's keep it clean. We got the censors here demonetized. All right, so then, but then we see our man here watching this footage, okay? And it's everything that he's just shot, but now we're seeing it again in black and white.
Yeah.
Very cool. How fucking cool is that? So cool. And
just
of course,
to see the different film color and media, it's just so cool to see the different textures like
and
that.
to see the same thing again. It's just
right.
I know.
In a different,
cool
and Michael Powell is the fucking goat of color, his the color in all of his movies is like the greatest.
The Eastman red, the lurid.
The greatest color you've ever seen in a film's period. And this movie still has it. But then what we're seeing is the fucking title hits. But as you said, the open mouth that is in soft focus on the screen. And it's kind of, I don't know, just for even a few seconds, it's like some weird proto-psychedelic imagery, like dark psychedelic imagery of her face on the screen in black and white soft focus. Woo!
And the moment of, I'm sorry, did I get really loud? I just
that was me.
The moment of him also re-watching, it's interesting because it's sort of his perversion, his disorder, part of it is, it's the watching back, that's when he gets off. It's he does the act of the thing and obviously his motivation is trying to capture the ultimate essence of and image of fear, right? That's his idea. I mean, we'll go into that later. But so when he watches it back, that's when he's really trying to get that's when the arousal is kind of happening.
Yeah, he just kind of after it kind of slumps back into the chair.
Yeah, right. And it, it's also when he's filming. When he's filming the next day, filming his documentary.
Yeah,
and he's filming the detectives pulling the body out as well, and so the whole thing is it's. I just wanted to show my Bundy books.
Hold on, there you go. My Bundy books. Okay.
Okay, this one, guys, The Only Living Witness, if you can see this, buy this immediately. It's incredible. If you want to know more about perverts and peeping toms, there's a lot of great first-hand information. This one I just reread, which is incredible. So I was on such a peeping tom Bundy deep dive this past week.
Jesus
and
Christ.
There is so much there's so much intel from a first person perspective, a lot of times these people do start out as peeping toms. They have a voyeuristic disorder, which is about getting off on the control of violating someone's privacy by gazing and looking at them when they don't know. But then also part of the perversion is the gaze gets returned. And then they see that, and then it's the exchange of gazes, which is the exchange of fear almost and shame. But they also like to revisit the site of the crime. And also Bundy would go and revisit the site of these crimes to relive them. And if he could have taped them and played them at home, he probably would have done that. He probably
would have, yeah.
Because it's you're reliving the fantasy, and you don't really want to be going and killing. You don't want to do that.
That's just a side effect, right?
That's a side. Exactly. That's a side effect. That's a side effect.
Right.
You really, it's you have the compulsion, and the killing is really the after effect of that compulsion.
You can't have anyone, rat you out or anything.
No.
So you have to
cover your tracks.
The main thing.
That's not the main goal, but you want to relive it. And so the film for Mark Lewis, in a way, is he's getting to relive that moment over and over. That's the appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, just if we can keep this train going here, that next day sequence when he is returning to the scene of the crime, and you're seeing just again great handheld cinema verite doc style stuff, very cool. I mean, just the idea that again, you might take it for granted, but just films didn't have scenes like that. And
that's something we always love here on the podcast too. It's just like whenever they incorporate a documentary element.
It's so cool.
All of our favorite movies are like
so
that.
Cool. This film feels like as they were putting it together, they really thought of every single avenue of how they can incorporate the element of, filming and making movies and making documentaries, and then this weird, and then obviously his crimes, and just, they've really, it's amazing. It's incredible. And audio recordings, which we'll get to. Yeah. So then we get to maybe my favorite scene, which is at the corner store. What do they call it over there?
Newsagent.
The news agent.
The news agent. And then we
That's
get
like your candy.
Got any nudie mags for me today?
And it's I was told by a friend you have some views for sale.
Oh my god. I love that, buying porn by the photo.
I know, yeah. How much for the whole thing? Yeah.
Delightful.
Yes. So we see this, this old codger or whatever they call him out there, walking in and wanting to buy some views. And again, got to imagine it's just, great sort of satirical commentary here by Powell to see, here's this guy, wanting to buy these photographs, but very creepy that, of course, Powell is just putting in this schoolgirl that walks in, right in the middle of this guy, like looking at all these dirty photos. And then here we cut to this 12-year-old girl walking in.
There's creepy men everywhere.
Yes.
There's creepy men in every
scene,
in every nook and cranny
of this film,
of this city.
Yeah.
And so it is about, it's a little bit of, like I said before, kind of about that hypocrisy of what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. And in a weird way with Mark's character too, it's not really about sex. It's not really about the sexual gratification. And for these guys coming in to the porn, it is.
Yeah.
It's about ogling the women. What do they say? The best ones are the ones on the covers without no front covers on their fronts.
Yeah, on their fronts. No covers on their fronts.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's they're all these fucking lecherous creeps.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you are awful.
Yeah. So crazy. Then we sort of get a view, and not to say a different kind of view of Mark's sort of side hustle, where he's doing photo shoots of these kind of pinup girls. Really interesting, behind the scenes look here, where it's we're inside of a flat, but they have this elaborate, paper mache Paris brick street set that they've built inside of someone's apartment. It's pretty cool.
Because this is in Soho too, which is the red light district.
Right.
So that's where all the sex shops are and the nudie peep shows and stuff.
Again, another showcase for just the tremendous color, the sort of Kodak or whatever it is, color that's on display here. Just amazing inside of the scene. But what's really startling about this is as he's photographing this woman, he notices we're constantly seeing this other woman who's in profile, who's very nervous. It's her first time doing this. And, Mark's going to take her photo with his large format camera. And then it's revealed that she has this cleft palate, and instantaneously Mark is fixated on that. And sort of drawn to her in a kind of creepy but tender way, where he's I must film you and film this, and then he even remarks to her this is my first time,
For me, it's my first time too.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, the deformity, the cleft. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's up with that?
Well, I mean, the idea of the woman with a deformity on the outside in so many ways is the way that he feels on the inside.
Oh, there you go.
He lives with this shame of this disorder that he feels he's sick, he's unwell, he's not normal, and she's showing that on the exterior. So he instantly relates to her. And I think also the idea of the warped camera apparatus mirror that he has is the idea of capturing the most terrified version of any sort of human experience, which is the moment before you die.
Yes.
But also it's showing you warped. So the idea is that like it's when right before you die, it's an unknowable expression of extreme fear and contortion that can never ever be captured, but that's what he's trying to capture.
Yeah.
So also in a weird way, the woman with the cleft lip in a way is like reflective of something that's almost monstrous in the way that he's trying to reflect in his film.
Yeah, and I do want to say like that idea of the warped view of fear is something that's withheld till the very end of the film.
Yeah,
that's the big reveal of course what those shiny lights were in the beginning, which you know we'll get to. But Jesus fucking Christ, is that terrifying stylistic choice by them?
This is one of the scenes that's going to go into the evidence against Manhunter too at the trial. You know, because it's like we've got the cleft palate, we've got the serial killer who's a photographer who reviews the films.
I know.
We have a fucking tiger rug that the women are like splayed out on. You know,
it's kind of crazy.
His relationship with this woman,
and the blind woman,
the blind mother.
But even the color palette with like the gels of the primary colors. This is the same movie.
The colored lights here are like one of the things I think that is the most influential feeling. You know, like it feels everything. Like that. Every slasher movie, Dario
Argento, but the cleft, the cleft lip or whatever that's called too, like that is in, you know, Manhunter, like he's relating to the woman who's blind because of like the disability, like feeling like we both can understand each other. But it's such a beautiful moment in this movie too, like the way that's another empathetic kind of look at him, of him connecting
with her. Yes.
And then the other woman too, like the cheesecake glamour model, like she's really funny and interesting, and like she's got a lot of stuff to say. And then that, like I something I noted was that like the female characters are all very defined.
They really are
very interesting. They're really very talkative, and they're very like active.
Well, that's a good segue. That's a great segue, because right around after this scene is when we meet Helen. And, you know, something about Helen, and Helen is a very well-defined character. And of course, like with her, you know, she's really the one that, you know, makes it a point to meet Mark and to burst into his life, burst into his room and get to know him and sort of
kind of manic pixieing on him.
That's funny.
But she's trying to investigate him and figuring out. So she's defined as a character.
She's very curious. And she's confident and curious, and she really makes it a point of like getting into his world. And of course she goes in to offer him the birthday cake and gets into his room, and then this is the big reveal of his, you know, sort of, you know, film, you know, dark room, developer room, screening room, sort of hybrid thing, which again evoked Manhunter to me in a lot of ways, because it's like taking the woman to see his house, or when he has victims at his house, like, do you see? Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of that too. And it's amazing. But this is when, you know, just to kind of keep things moving here, you know, Mark shows her, she really wants to see what all this film is all about, all of his projectors and films. Yep. And he shows her these childhood films. And this is when we're seeing this again, another one of the many films within a film here, where it's all the disturbing sort of research film that his father, Mark's father, took of him as a child. And it's really scary stuff, because we're sort of seeing, you know, him taking footage of Mark as a kid crying, him sitting up on a fence post watching another couple kiss. So these were experiments. Like his dad was a behavioral psychologist, behavioral scientist, and he was studying fear. Yes. And like what the reactions of fear are, and in a little boy, and how fear develops. And so he was studying the behavior, and which is also interesting, because before we're talking about like Freud and the movie being sort of also based on unconscious desires. Behavior science was like the opposite. It was about the environment and the way the environment and behavior like affects our psychology and our behavior. And so he was this little experiment that ended up he was tortured, and that trauma ended up turning him into this person with these pathologies and perversions. Right,
because his dad was also interested in Peeping Tom, right? We find that out. That was one of his areas.
What makes a Peeping Tom?
Right. So he's trying to almost create this monster.
Yeah, to study him.
The
mom dead in the bed, and so like you've got the little salamander scaring him. Then you've got like him visiting his dead mother. Then you have like the spying on the lovers. The new mom the stepmom in the bikini. What's that word, mom?
No, yeah,
in the bikini, sex and death and all that shit getting mixed together, fucking up his psyche.
No, but we have to mention. I mean, just the it is really fucking crazy. The shot of dropping a lizard into this child's bed, and of course, there's another meta layer, as I mentioned, that Michael Powell is playing the father here, and his son Columba, what a crazy name, is he's playing the son. So it's very meta in that situation. And apparently while they were filming it, like Columba got frightened for real for this this lizard, and Michael Powell said in his book that he himself felt like a murderer, deservedly. And he said, he used the scene in the film, and I guess if later in life he develops any complexities about being afraid of lizards, it's his fault,
And his dad also, in the video that we see, the black and white film, you see him giving the gift of the camera to Mark. So this is the big moment. Like he's giving that's the mechanism object of torture, right? And then that becomes like the fetish object for Mark, which also becomes like the phallic symbol, and then something that he cannot detach himself from. Right. And so that's the moment in his life, and he's telling Helen all about this. Right. Basically like that's the camera. That's when I got this. And so he's letting her into the psychology. Right. He then becomes the innocent sort of character of love and curiosity and redemption. Can this woman come into his life, give him love? Can she cure him? Sort of thing, like a little bit Red Dragon-ish too with that subplot. But yeah.
The fact that everything's filtered through the camera and he's a voyeur and we're being watched and we're watching people and we're being controlled. Everything being filtered through the camera in this movie. Had me wondering, if in this day and age, if it has less meaning now that everything is being videoed all the time, or if it has even
more meaning.
More meaning.
That's true. That's true. I was thinking about that too, because of what it says about us as humans and that fetish of constantly wanting to sort of either spy on people, even have that or fetishize ourselves or objectify ourselves, and how commerce and that has taken over.
We're all him now, walking around with cameras all the time. I know. You pull it out whenever something is happening. Whatever.
Well, and I think that also speaks to the coping mechanism, because basically what happened was he wasn't able to cope with real life without the camera. The camera became the object of comfort for him because he could mediate reality through it. And then he was always living in this fractured reality that was a mixture between fantasy and his sort
there you go.
That's also explored in the Blair Witch Project.
Right on. Yeah. Right on. All right, let's keep this show going. Okay. So, and then, Helen is very sympathetic towards this when she sees the footage of, the disturbing footage that she's seen.
Torture.
Right. She immediately identifies this as a horrible thing for Mark and immediately sympathizes with him. Eventually they become somewhat collaborative. She's working on a children's sort of book, and, he's going to help her with photos for that and so on and so forth. So there's kind of this romance developing here. Meanwhile, the next murder scene sort of occurs where Mark, who is working, as we said, as a focus puller for this shitty comedy film or whatever, he takes one of the stand-ins that's a stand-in actress and sort of arranges to film some stuff with her after hours at the set after it's closed. But then, of course, and we see this incredible dance number. It's amazing that she does.
I was doing that last night.
I know you were. It was crazy. Rémy can really do that, guys. It's very weird.
Well, that's when you feel like the Hoffman and the
red shoes. It's so cool.
Totally.
And the actress, of course, from the red shoes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. But this is where we see the sort of unsheathing of the knife tripod, which is, wow, what a crazy idea too, to have the knife tripod gimmick. Very wild. That's ahead of its time in many ways. But
and the set, the way that set looks, and she's trapped in a cage, and all the lights and the equipment are caging her in, and it's incredible.
So he kills her with the knife camera, and then stuffs her in a prop trunk, and that's the end of her for now. and
the red light too. Like I just wanted to mention when we talked about like the symbolism of the lights, when he's like, I turn the red light on, you know, and it's like and then you see the red light on the outside of the soundstage, and it says the walls are closing.
You're right.
That's the name of the movie.
Right.
And so the symbolism of like red keeps on when the woman later sees the red hat, it triggers, and the red like box that Maura Shear is like dancing on.
The dark room is lit with red light.
With that red light. So the red light is like, that's the compulsion, that's the violence, you know, like intruding.
We should also mention too Carl's performance. I mean, in this film, you know, I think he does have that unique sort of, I don't know, I kind of was thinking like a kind of weirdish, like Orson Welles-y kind of.
He has a bit of a Peter Lorre.
Yeah,
Peter Lorre, that's
Peter
better.
Lorre,
Kind of a Peter Lorre, but he does have that kind of like sympathetic tone, you know, and he plays
it. You hear his German accent a little bit.
Totally. I think it adds to it. Yeah, it's endearing. And so then, but creepy as well too, you know, it's a little bit of both.
He's creepier. I mean, like the women are sort of like forced, like really, you know, sort of forcing themselves to be interested in him. Like, hey, what are you up to? He's not giving them much at all. And that always really annoys the shit out of me, you know, like
because you're like, where's his personality? Like, what's
right? And they're all like just really pushing themselves on him, and he's not participating. You know?
Yeah, he's like, well, I just don't know.
I'm just weird and creepy.
Yeah, right.
Can we talk about the date scene?
Yes, I do want to get there, but before the date scene, really quickly, let's just get really quick to Mark's face to face with Helen's mother, because Helen's mother is blind.
The blind woman.
And she basically senses. She has almost the sixth sense that something's up with this guy.
Yeah.
And
as
of course,
blind people in movies do. You know?
Right, they do, of course. And we're seeing these really creepy shots of like, you know, of Mark like always looking through the window, like at her. It's amazing. So meeting mother, of course, their romance is getting a little bit more defined here as they are collaborating on this book together and things like that. But very weird. Like she's sitting there like pounding whiskeys. And she's like, and Helen's like, how did you know Mark is here? And he's like, well,
how did you know he was there?
The back of my neck told me.
The back of my neck told me. So she really, you know, has this kind of creeped out by him. But as soon as he comes in the door and Helen's like, I want you to meet my mother, there's this weird dissolve that happens, almost like through fabric cross-dissolve transition. Very weird stylistic choice. Almost otherworldly as he's standing there in front of her. But then weird choice by Michael Powell, but effective, where she can tell that he's nervous and touches his like, I guess his hand, checks his pulse and asks him, have you been running? And this is when we hear the heartbeats in the soundtrack. And it's getting very intense that like he's nervous to meet her because he might know that she's like suspects him of something. And so, and of course she's hearing about the woman that died on the film set. And didn't Mark work at the film set? You know, so very interesting there.
Well, and also the whole film is about sight and the gaze, and the one person who doesn't have the power of sight is the one who actually can see. Of course. So it's like really weird.
Well written there.
You know, so it's like the unconscious. It's going back to that. Like there's something about the mystery of the unconscious that the film is like tapping into.
Well, let's keep it moving here. So then we're getting to this date night that they have where, you know, she's insisting upon that he cannot bring his camera.
Okay, this is the part I really, 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 really want to talk about.
Go.
Okay, this is so cool. Like the idea that she's like taking away this camera. She's like, oh, I thought it was another limb, you know? And I really started to think about how weird this was, that the camera really is a sentient being. And like more than anything else in the movie, I think that's so fascinating. Like it reminded me of like Magic, the movie Magic with Anthony Hopkins, where the ventriloquist doll is like the mechanism. Right. That's the thing that is actually murdering. It's not him. Like it's not Mark. It's the camera. Like the camera is alive. He can't control it. And it reminded me of like Videodrome, the red shoes. Like it kind of was like, whoa, this weird demon seed. This idea of like technology becoming an appendage that you can't like disattach yourself from, and that's like the source of the evil. Like, and if only he could get rid of it. Like so Helen tries to take it away from him, and it's like a moment of respite, kind of from that controlling force.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Oh, just Michael Powell actually mentioned that like the most terrifying machine that, you know, anything more terrifying than anything that Arthur C. Clarke or Ray Bradbury came up with the most terrifying machine was the camera. So that
Right.
was part of his thing. Also, just how the leg comes out, it's always like the knife on the
I
leg,
know.
and it's like
Yeah.
Very phallic.
It's
I remind me of Basket Case too a little bit. I was
Totally.
like,
This
where
is
it's like it's another thing.
This is
It's
very-
not that, right?
Very
And they're-
Basket Case core.
And they're like hiding
Okay,
it, and then
guys.
it like pops out. Okay, sorry.
All right, we got 8 minutes. I'm freaking out. Okay.
No!
So, yes, this is really bad. So, okay, so then he's giddy to be going on a date with her, and he's probably able to enjoy himself because the camera isn't there, to Ramey's point. But it's really interesting the way that this little date montage is set is because there's a timer that's being set on his film being developed, right? So we're seeing this kind of timer that's also superimposed on this montage, which is kind of a metaphor of like, the good time you're having is going to run out soon, which is I think is just very smart that he's able to do that. There's like an
And he can
expiration.
only hold back the compulsion for so long.
Exactly. And of course, along the way, while they're walking on the street, he's looking at people making out. He's looking through windows at other women. He can't help himself, right?
Can't help himself. Yep.
Right. And then there's a moment where where she goes, okay, like we're gonna go our separate ways. She goes and gets the camera, but then there's this freak out moment where he's like, no, I will never film you. I'll never film you. You're
Yeah.
never gonna be someone, because obviously we know what that'll mean. And then she kisses him, but then he kisses his very phallic camera in a
Yes.
very creepy
Yes.
moment. But this is the scene that really got me was the mother appearing in the darkness as he is reviewing his film footage. She's just been sitting there the whole time and sort of waiting for this moment to spring on him and then he flips the fucking light on her. Very scary. And she
Yeah.
talks about how she visits this room every night because the blind always live in the rooms they live under. Very creepy.
She can hear him.
Yeah, she can hear him, and she confronts him, and it's very, I don't know, it's
She says, "Show me your cinema."
yeah, show me your scent. Take me to
Okay,
your
and
cinema.
then when he plays the movie of the murder and he's not happy with it and he throws himself against the
not
projector
perfect.
screen and it's not, but then you see like the image superimposed like on his back and it looks like a woman's skull.
It's amazing.
And it's like death and terror and the gaze all mixing together and it's incredible.
It's incredible. Really quick to speed through this, he goes back to the crappy film set that he's working on, and of course there's a psychiatrist working on set because the woman who discovered the dead body in the trunk that Mark killed is traumatized, and they're still trying to get a performance out of her, which I think also is Michael Powell, black comedy, which is amazing. But he meets the psychiatrist who Mark does, and of course this guy knew his father, so this is how he discovers that his father was actually very interested in the Peeping Tom disorder as well, and he gives him his business card. But then the cops are really sort of like, okay, now they're on to him because of this. Helen sneaks into his darkroom area, flips on his film that he's been watching, and now she discovers that, oh my God, these films he's making motherfucking snuff films. And it's really well done where, we don't see what she's seeing. We just see her backing away and the horror on her face. Great performance by her, of course, in that moment. Really amazing. But this is really, guys...
The music's
Okay.
doing a lot there too.
True.
Kind of like silent music, almost like silent movie soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
We don't
Very much
see
so.
what's happening.
Right.
Very much so. This fucking scene, you guys, is so insane. And just shout out to this. This is incredible. Of course, Mark walks in, discovers that now she knows everything. She's seen the footage. The cops are going to be on their way up, as well. So he panics and he knows it's the end. And so what he does is he turns on all of these audio reel-to-reels, which are recordings of him at different ages growing up, screaming and crying.
Yeah.
You guys? And so he decides to blare all of those, turning them all up. He fires up all of his cameras, which are rapidly taking photographs of himself as he's running towards his own camera that has his little fucking, penis tripod knife extended. And he runs right into that, fucking killing himself.
Right in the
That's
throat.
one of the most insane 2 minutes of any film. Like that's the first insane 2 minutes of any film ever,
Yeah.
Like, whoa, crazy. And just with the stereo of all of his childhood screams being cranked up is
And it's
wild.
interesting.
wild.
Oh, it's crazy. But
It's
it's
very externalized internal it's his
Yeah.
internal trauma, like
Right.
externalized to the max.
Yes.
in
to the
film.
max, to the
Yes.
max. Like,
Yes.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And then just saying like, Helen, I'm afraid, all the fucking flashbulbs going off. Like he wants to document his run up to killing himself, which is just very weird conceptually.
Yeah.
And then stabbing himself in the neck as more flashbulbs are going off. Dude.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of revealed that he gets off on seeing the fear, and
It's
that's
the
what
fear.
he's showing.
Yes.
He's showing them
Yeah.
their
His
own
own-
face as
their
they're
own
getting
fear.
killed. And so he's
Oh.
going to capture his own face being
What?
afraid.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's the reveal, of course, in this.
Yes.
Right before that, that's when he
Mirror.
reveals the warped mirror, which again, proto-psychedelic, crazy
amazing.
idea of like we're showing people this distorted nightmare version of your own death. The crazy.
Yeah.
fucking-
And I think this is what makes it even more interesting than just like a Jack the Ripper
Oh.
serial killer or whatever. Like it's really about the study of fear because that's what his dad conditioned him to do. So like the obsession with finishing that work, it's not about like sex with the women. It's not really about sadism. It really is like capturing that ultimate fear of like seeing yourself die, seeing yourself in the moment of destruction.
I'm not trying to have a hot take here or anything, but like that last scene, like dusts Psycho in terms of like being like, the shower scene, blah, blah, blah. But this is so over the top, mentally insane, fucking crazy, like, and stylistically, like way light years ahead. I don't know, man. Crazy.
Right.
And just like you said, going into the
to be fair to Psycho, they do have Anthony Perkins.
No, we love Anthony
For
Perkins.
sure. I know. But
There's some levels here. There's like the psychological levels, the kind of mythic levels. I was reading a lot about Medusa. There's a lot of really incredible film like essays about like the idea of Medusa in this film of like she was representative of like fear and death and women and sexuality. And then looking at you turn to stone if you look at her. And then it was all about the gaze exchanging fear between those.
Right.
That's kind of what this is. This is also like a mythical tale.
yeah.
Right.
And how about
Well, she's the final girl too, just
And
the
she's the final
slasher
girl.
tradition.
Yeah.
She's the final girl.
she is.
But she's not repulsed enough by him for me personally. You know what I mean? She like sort of stays with him, rubs his shoulders, like, tell me what's wrong.
Because I think she really I think she wants like
She understands what
she wants to save him. She wants to save
of course.
She's watching to understand him.
Yeah.
Right? He's watching to control people.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. But
Wait.
him. And
Okay, well, how
59
about?
million.
I know. How about just really quick?
okay.
The note that this movie ends on too, stylistically, like where he's splayed out on the ground, dead. She's there. The cops burst in. It fades to black, and we hear our childhood recording of Mark saying, "Good night, Daddy. Hold my hand."
Good night, Daddy. Hold my hand.
Yeah,
That's
so
fucking
scary.
Scary.
So scary.
Hold my hand is the
All
last
he
word.
wanted to be was like comforted as a child, and that he could never be. And so this was his way of like almost pleasing his father because he could never do that, and then like getting like comfort by like facing death, which is ultimately his biggest fear.
What a
and
touch,
there's
man.
that insane frame too at the end of just like an empty
I
film
know,
frame
I know,
with like
of course.
red,
The red.
at the bottom.
And the film running out of the cameras. Dude, everything is dialed
Yeah.
in. This dude is an incredible filmmaker. It is a masterpiece. Sorry.
Oh my god.
Oh, I love it. Okay, there we go. Wow.
We need an overtime on this. We need an overtime.
Yeah,
on this.
I know.
Oh, I'm sweating in here.
I know. Well, maybe
Jesus.
we could tune into just find us over at on YouTube
Oh,
and
no.
we'll talk more about it. All right, so there we go, everybody. 1 fucking hour on Peeping Tom. Lot left on the table there, but I mean that just goes to show that this movie. I mean, I'm so glad we picked this as 1960, because
Yeah.
there's so much there.
There's a
and
lot more to talk about, guys. I'm sorry if we didn't get to everything.
I know.
There's so much more. There's so much more.
I know. There's so much more.
There's a couple more things, but
Well, if
I
you were
feel
to
like-
see the scrawlings
I was just
of a
'cause
mad woman, the
it's
notes.
the kind of thing that like you could just write like you could write just like multiple like
Essays,
dissertations.
yeah. I
Like
know.
is there like almost like we couldn't do it here, but like there's so many other little rabbit holes to go down. Like
oh, for sure.
you know what I mean? Like or just going deeper on some of it because it's like just the psychology of it. And
I
all
mean,
that.
Leo Marks, just like this guy
Yeah,
and his
yeah.
connection with World War II and code breaking, that's a whole nother rabbit hole you could go down for an hour. It's
Yeah.
insane.
yeah.
Yeah. This movie, it's a big topic, and it's if you have not seen it or haven't seen it in a long time, We got the 4K Criterion disc. You know, it looks amazing. It's got that Powell color.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's got the Powell colors. You know, fucking fantastic, man. Fantastic. All right, so now that that's behind us, Marcus, do you remember what we're gonna do for next week? Because I don't know. I think. Do you?
Is it the Misfits?
Yeah. Oh, you just blew it. Okay.
You asked. So.
All right. Well, there it is.
You're banking on me not remembering.
I was.
Is that? Wow.
I was. But yeah. So we're kind of gonna be doing this thing where we're gonna weave in some polls as we get into the 60s. Just like we did with the 50s. So don't worry, because there's some monster years coming up where it's almost impossible to pick a movie. But we're also going to do some non-negotiables. And Rémy, this is your non-negotiable, right, for the 60s?
I'm sorry, maybe. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting really greedy with these movies.
You're getting very greedy. But
I know, because Peeping Tom was kind of my...
No, I think for me I'm so glad we did it because we could have done La Ventura, we could have done great, but Peeping Tom isn't just it's another step forward, it's so much there to talk about as we just did,
and to rediscover something that was
I know
tossed aside.
Perfect OFH title, but you gave us the non-negotiable of this for next week, so we just got a chance to see it at MoMA on the big screen, and it's an opportunity to talk about John Huston, which I think is awesome. So we're going to get into next week, 1961 for episode 161. We're going to get into John Huston's The Misfits. Where is it? Which I'm very excited about because there's a lot there, man. What a wild film.
It's interesting, a weird movie.
Really weird film. Drunk
to touch
film.
on a lot of characters that are important in the history of cinema that haven't
very
been
much
addressed yet.
Yeah, it's Marilyn Monroe's last film. Montgomery Clift is back here post accident.
It's a kind of a story of these aging icons who are at the end of their careers, but who are just such magnetic, incredible performers, but very melancholy in almost their last years in a way.
Yeah, it's very obviously Arthur Miller. It's very literary. Yeah. It really does feel like it's very close to the experience of reading sort of a novel or a work of fiction. Yeah. It's very literary in terms of it's not a very straightforward sort of cinematic story, I feel like. But a
lot of good behind the scenes stuff too, and
definitely.
just they kind of the history of the making of it and all that stuff.
Definitely. So next week, strap in everybody. We're gonna get into 1 fucking hour on The Misfits for 1961. As here we are, we're in the 60s, guys. This is a whole new decade, and we're going to be barreling towards the 70s. Very excited about that as well. So hope you've been enjoying this. It's been, just think Sunset Boulevard, and now we're at Peeping Tom. It's lots changed.
It kind of makes sense though.
It does. Yeah. Because we're picking all the perverted films,
Yes.
We really are. We're just picking what are the most perverted films of the year. We're going to do it. I love it.
I'm
sorry. So, all right. So get ready for that. And of course, keep your eyes on the 1 fucking hour Patreon, because that sort of bonus ep on the 50s, our favorite 50s films that we hadn't covered in long form. That episode is going to be up shortly if it isn't already. And guys, I think that's it, right? I think that's about it. April's been a tricky month. I've been, we were in LA with Marcus. I was in Europe last week. Now I'm going back to LA with Marcus, or we both are. So we're with Marcus.
That's right.
So the release schedule on these episodes might not be exactly 7 days apart. They might be 10 to, days around, a couple days late. So bear with us. But we'll get back on schedule. So, All right, everybody. Well, we can't leave you without your Tome of Zen. And we'll see you next time. Get ready. The Misfits. Here we go. All right, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
So long.
Name the movie that started the slasher craze. Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Last House on the Left, or Psycho.
Psycho!
None of the above. Peeping Tom, 1960, directed by Michael Powell. First movie to ever put the audience in the killer's POV.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.